Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Trends in Learning and Development. It's your host, Doug Devitre. I've got my friend here, Scott Cooksey. He's a certified speaking professional at the National Speakers Association, owns Cooksey Connects, who runs leadership training across the country. I'm going to bring him in real quick without further ado. Welcome, Scott.
Doug, good to see you, my friend. Glad to be here today. Thanks for having me on.
You know, we've known each other a long time in the professional speaking world, and we have, we've seen an evolution in how training is created, how it's delivered, how groups are facilitated. So we're just going to get right into it, right? So I want to hear from you. What are some of the top things that you're seeing right now when it comes to learning and development trends?
Yeah. So a couple things, and I got to tell you, training has really changed. I think that one of the most important things is that we're not thinking of training anymore as a single event, but an experience and a journey that people are going on. And I'm excited to see that happen in organizations because, they say that 10% of the learning happens in the classroom, 20% happens when we interact with other people, but 70% of the learning that we do is based on our experience or the application. And so while training is an important part of what we do to get our leaders ready, really giving them a chance to work, in situation, in the field, in their jobs, in their roles, and be able to apply that is really, really great. And that's what makes it stick.
Yeah, no kidding. So when I think about creating that journey, I can imagine there's a lot of different steps or a lot of different pathways, right? Because let's just pretend you go down the path of soft skills.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Right. Well, which one do you choose first? Do you?
Yeah. Is that a question or is that
I guess that's kind of a rhetorical question, right?
I mean, I do have an answer for it. I mean, I think you've got to do something that creates awareness in a good place. Is to start by understanding what your own communication preferences and tendencies are. Because what matters the most as a leader is not whether you follow the model exactly right, not whether you follow some academic, procedure the right way. It's the emotional intelligence required to have a sincere connection with the people that you're hoping to lead and the people that are leading you. And you can only do that if you're in tune with how you feel in a moment, understand your own preferences. And when you feel frustrations or excitement or whatever emotion may be popping up, you understand maybe why that's happening. That's usually not that situation. It's that, this person talks to me the way I like to be talked to. Therefore, I'm more willing to listen to what they have to say. And I tell people all the time, the number one rule as a leader is you've got to meet other people where they are. And it's a lot faster than waiting for them to come around to your way of seeing things. And you can't do that without awareness and understanding your own personal preferences.
Yeah, and that's changed a lot with technology being either an accelerator or a distraction.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, here we are in this, in 2019, training was you went to a room, you did a thing, maybe you got coached, maybe you didn't, you went back, you just tried to do your job. But now we work different than we did in 2019, right? We're looking at where we are today, and it's like we have hybrid work arrangements. We've got people that are many more teams that work. We've always had teams that were geographically dispersed, but now, like even for people that are in your same town, maybe on the same floor of the building you work in, we'll still meet on Teams or Zoom or some other platform. And when you only work through a camera with somebody else, those connections that we have to be able to make, we have to make an intentional space for those. So think about this, Doug. When you go into a workplace and you're learning, you're getting to know your team, how much do you learn is, by walking around and maybe those organic impromptu conversations that would happen at the coffee pot, grabbing a sandwich downstairs in the lobby, coming in and out of the parking lot. That's how we got to know people. And when everybody works remote, if somebody is at my coffee pot, we have a problem, right? Because I'm at home. And I should be the only one here. And so, the dynamic of how we work together more and more, I spent some time just this past week, and some of the talent acquisition folks I was talking to were sharing their deep concern about, they were like, people just don't work the same way. They're not motivated by the same things. And I was like, yeah. And I said, And he suggested that it was generational, and I think that's part of it. But I think more importantly, it's that over the last 5 years, we've all sort of reprioritized how we want to spend our time. And I don't mind working for you, right? And a lot of employees are saying, I don't mind working for you 40 hours a week, but not if it costs me, 12 hours a week in the car on top of that, getting to and from your office when I could do that job from somewhere else.
Yeah, and so as you as a leader, how do you go about finding that out, right? And really being not just
Mhm.
asking kind of like a surface level question, but
Right.
maybe going a couple layers deep to really understand what's going on in somebody's life, so that
Yeah.
can
I mean, get to know them. Like, what's going on with your family? What's going on? Where are you? What life stage are you in? Did you just get married? Do you have kids? Do you want to spend time with them? Like right now, my business is built, Doug, where I try to maximize the amount of time that I'm either working from home or completely off work when my daughter's out of school, especially during the school year. So if I find out the school's out for the whole week of Thanksgiving, I'm at a point in my life, I don't want to ask anybody's permission. I just want to be off that week. A couple weeks over Christmas, spring break, right? Fall break, little things that we get. Those are moments I'm going to get with my daughter that I want. And I think more and more people are like, I want to live my life. I ran into a friend last night, flying home from Houston. Ran into her in the airport. I used to work with her at another company. We hadn't seen each other for several years. And I said, hey, how's your life going? She goes, oh my God, it's so great. I work fully remote. I've got this fantastic company that I work for. And she goes, but if I want to go to Mexico and work from down there for 10 weeks, I can do it. If I want to come back in here, she's back and forth between Tulsa and back up north where she lives with her family. And she was like, I get to live my life. And she said, I'm kind of struggling because now I'm working at this company that's like, could you come into the office a little bit more? Because teams are trying, it's not that companies need you to work from their location. But what they found is that sometimes you have to kind of force situations where people will have that organic growth together, that just because leaders aren't equipped for how to do that more intentionally online.
And what do you mean by that? Because myself being an early adopter of some of these technologies,
Absolutely.
right? Published a book, Screen to Screen, Selling with
Yes,
McGraw.
you did.
And primarily in the real estate world where it was belly to belly. I still have war wounds from everyone who told me no, this is a face to face business, and even
Yeah.
some of the senior leaders have come along slowly, right? But it's like, how can we equip this? How can we equip our leaders with either the mindset or because it's not so much the tools, right?
Right.
It's the mindset. So how would
Yes.
you encourage leaders to take a positive mindset to encourage them to think differently about how they have maybe worked in the past?
I mean, what I've kind of found, people, is when I say do things intentional, I don't mean that you have to get on a call, schedule a Zoom call for 45 minutes to get your whole team there and everybody talks for 6 minutes and says what I did on my summer vacation. But you could do some fun things like, hey, this week's theme for our online meeting is your favorite place you ever went on vacation. And the only thing you do is tell people to change their virtual background to have a picture from someplace they think is great, or a hobby that they're into, or something fun that they did. And over time, right, that's the equivalent of walking by somebody's cube and seeing what's the sports team logo they have, up on their deal, or who's got little kid art in the back of their cube, right? Because those are things that made us curious and told us about that individual. um, it's finding a way to just take some intentional time. It doesn't have to take a lot. Give somebody a 3 or 4 minute spotlight about something. I work with a lot of global teams, Doug, and sometimes they'll talk about what are some of the holidays or traditions of wherever those folks live. 2 or 3 minutes, and then go on to the business of your day. But when you're stacked back to back to back to back to back, you have no time in between meetings. There, the funny thing is, some of that connection still happens, and it's in the back channel, right? People are in the chat, they're direct chatting other people on the call. By the way, please don't be one of those people that turns off the chat box because you think that's helpful. It's not, because if they don't do that, they're just going to chat right here, right? They're going to chat the back channel on their phone. They're going to have their second or third monitor over here to the side, and they're never going to look at the camera. They're going to be doing their thing. But just be intentional, and you can still be very effective. A friend of mine, John Chen, has a fantastic book that he wrote about making virtual meetings fun, and he's got, it's a thick book and it's awesome. And that guy, he's got some crazy energy. You should talk to him, Doug. He's a lot of fun too.
I think one of our mutual mentors, Bob Pike, was one of his big fans. So
Yeah,
I'll be sure to check him out. What I like what you mentioned about his digital equivalencies, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
what we might do face to face might take on a different form in it virtually. So
yeah,
even working with my son too, right? He has
for
his
sure.
own ways. I mean, he's 9 now. He's been doing all these crazy things with technology that we'll probably show in some future episodes here.
Oh yeah, you post stuff all the time. He's a smart kid, man. He does some cool stuff.
Well, there was no limitations with him, and I also found out it was helpful to kind of meet him where he was,
Yeah,
not force things, encourage, help cope with mistakes. Um,
yeah.
you know,
You just have to try things, man. I For the last couple of years, Doug, I've been doing some training. Um, get this, sales training. Okay, that kitchen table sales, right? We've been teaching HVAC selling techs. So heat and air folks, the folks that come into your house and your air conditioner breaks and deliver the bad news, you got to replace it. And here's the systems that we've got. We're teaching them how to do that better using VR.
yeah.
And
Which tool are you using, or have you been
so
or experimenting with?
yeah, so the client that we work with had made an investment using a platform called Engage,
Okay.
and they've created some really cool environments. Like one of the conference rooms that we go into has like a stage in the round in the middle, and everybody comes in and their avatars milling around. But the cool thing is they have all these rooms that are attached that you can see that have corporate logos over the top. They got their vendors to build virtual booths inside this exhibit hall, and so you can actually go into the booths and learn more about some of the excuse me, the approved vendors and the products they have. But the most fun part, Doug, when I tell people, all right, they're like, oh, this is a cool room. They're kind of learning how to walk around and move and how to sit down and move around with your avatar. And I go, look up. And they all look up with their VR headsets on, and they realize that they're standing, that thing that they're in, that building is that big box that sits outside your house and has a fan on the top of it, right? It's the air conditioning unit that's outside. That's what you're sitting in. They see the fan turning up above them. They go, oh my God. And they realize that up high in the walls, it's really the coils, right? That's part of your cooling unit. And we go into a little apartment, somebody's house. We simulate walking in, working with them. The tech, the selling comfort specialist, as we call them, goes in and sits down at the table with the person who's playing the role of maybe the customer who lives in the house. Their avatars talk, but here's the best part, Doug. I forced them not to use their notes that we just taught them on the process because they can't take the VR headset off to look at their notes. So they have to just do, and we record it in VR, and then we have them step back, have their avatar step back from the table, and we play back for them, and they hear their own voice, they see their own avatar at the table, and it's an experience they've never had, which makes the learning stickier, and it forces them to get out of their notes faster. Right? How often have you done a skill exercise where somebody's doing a role play, which everybody's like, "Oh, we hate these."
Yeah.
Give them in VR, and they're like, "Hey, that was kind of cool," right? And also this week, this company also does a lot of technical training in VR. I was in an office in Chicago the first part of this week with a company that made these industrial cranes that you would mount at the top of a big electric generation windmill, for example. And I go, they build the crane in? He goes, yeah, that's how we get the maintenance equipment to the top. And I said, well, that's cool. And he goes, you want to see how we train them? And I walked in this empty room that had a TV mounted on the wall, and I spotted it. There was a VR headset. There was what looked like a giant game controller, right? And that's exactly what the controls look like that the crane operator would use. And they do crane operation training in VR. That's the way you learn safely how to use very dangerous equipment. We couldn't do that just a few years ago.
Yeah, and the time from taking that notes from, let's say, sitting in a seminar to actually doing it,
Yeah.
you're doing it right at the same time. So I would imagine that increases or decreases the onboarding time for
Oh, for sure.
as well.
Absolutely. Because you're getting hands-on experience, and there's no safety issue. There's no worry that someone is going to get injured or hurt in a dangerous world. So I love the way that these blue-collar jobs are adapting this amazing cutting-edge technology to train their people to be great technicians and do what they do better.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Scott, I want to encourage you to post your website on the chat so that people can
Absolutely.
people can have access to it. I know that you do seminars all over the world. You do virtual training, you've done leadership training, facilitation, so people can learn a little bit more about you. You're also a good guy. You know, we've gone through many stages in life where we've kind of witnessed not just the evolution of training and development, but also the technology. So I'm really glad you were able to join on the first show here.
You bet. I dropped it in the private chat. I didn't see the other public chat. So put that over. It's cookseyconnects.com or leadoutperformancegroup.com. That's my company. Someday I'll come back. We'll talk about how I use the examples of how a pro cycling team works. It's Tour de France season and I'm going crazy right now. It's awesome. And how we apply a lot of ideas from how a pro cycling team works to help you become a better leader.
Yeah. Wow. That's way cool.
All right, man.
Thanks again, Scott. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer over. Hope you have an awesome day.
Doug, thank you. We'll see you soon, buddy.
All right, thanks. Well, listen, gang. This is we just had Scott on. We're going to talk about some new trends in learning and development as part of our episode, our video podcast. We're going to have it set up to where we start off the interviews right off the bat, and then we're going to go into a technical deep dive. We're going to try to do these often, not every day, probably at least once a week, so that we can expose you to some of these ideas. And really, I'm going to take you right into it. So this is, I'm going to put this up full screen so you can see this. This is a new blog newsletter that I just put out called Learning New Trends in Learning and Development. And then the latest post that I encourage you to check out is the one about the new St. Louis County Library branch. It's the Clark family branch. Bob Clark, president and CEO of Clayco, made a generous donation to the St. Louis County and built this facility. So I'm going to scroll down so you can see at least some of these pictures here of what this new facility looks like, because it's nothing like I've ever seen before, and I've been to a lot of different places. First up is this virtual meeting space. So now instead of going to the other locations that have like the little small rooms, now you have a much bigger room. It's much open space, much bigger digital whiteboard, and then you can book these rooms from the library staff. Then they have other rooms that have the TV built into it. So if you wanted to have a Zoom meeting with, let's say, 3 or 4 people, there's also the whiteboard there. There's that option as well. I'm going to keep going here through, see what else we have. There's the scanning and digitization studio. So let's pretend you're at the library. You want to not just make a photocopy, but you wanted to get a real high definition image of it. They have those tools. This one is really neat. This is the genealogy lab where we can go and record a video on sitting on a couch, just talking about your life experiences. So this is something that I plan on doing, is inviting my dad. My dad is, his name is Saurabh. He's born in India. I don't know if you all knew that, but he moved to the United States when he was 22. He has a rich history of immigration, coming here, what it's like to start out. So that's something I'm going to try and get him to do coming up soon. Now, musician, I was never a musician. I did play drums, I think in like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but not after that. Well, now, if you wanted to make your own music and record it, they have a whole lab that allows you to do that. And you can actually not rent this out, but book it in advance, and it doesn't cost any money. Now, this is something that's new that they put in this is at the library, right? They have the green screen with all the different equipment. You see the gentleman right here. His name is Jamel. He's the manager on duty there. Boy, he's got his work cut out for him because he's managing this entire space that involves all these different tools. So be kind to him when you see him, because they're a little overwhelmed with all the people coming through right now. This is where you can go in and I guess if you're going to mix the music, they have the tools and the computer set up for that. This is the Makerspace lab where you can print 3D objects. You can print posters. Now there's a charge if you use any of the materials, just like you're going to make copies. There's a charge for some of these things. But if you're a St. Louis County resident, you can use any one of these for any one of the software or the computers for free. And then this is kind of the outside view of the Object Computer Creative Lab. They have Mac computers with all the latest tools. In fact, what I'll do here is I'll scroll down here just to show you some of the software that they have as part of this. Yeah. Okay. So this is on a Mac computer. You have programs like the Adobe Suite. You have, let's see, Pro Tools for music. Let's see. What are some other ones you probably might not be familiar with? Godot. I don't know what that one is, but that's something that's new. If you want to make your own Kindle book, they've got Kindle Create. So just imagine now, if you are, let's say, in grade school, or you're a teenager, or you're running a small business and you want to go in and you want to use some of these tools. It's just absolutely amazing what's now offered as a public service. So this is all on the new Substack newsletter that I've created. So if you go to dougdevitre.substack.com, you can access this newsletter where I'm right now I'm pushing out articles on a daily basis. So I encourage you to subscribe. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can also chat with me. So if you have your phone real quick, if you want to scan this QR code, or you can even type in the website in your web browser, substack.com/chat/the number, you can chat with me directly. So this is kind of like access to the bat line when it comes to learning and development. If you have a question about something, I'll do my best to respond right away. And the whole goal here is to have a whole lot of fun in the process. Now, one of the things I will say is we are going to be doing we're going to be doing a couple free public seminars at the St. Louis Public Library. You see here where I have this is Friday, August 9th. This is the program, What They Didn't Teach You in Kindergarten. This is going to be for parents. It's going to be for teachers. It's going to be for any school administrators who want to see what types of things that they can do, right, that are practical. Not just the tools, right? Because the tools are the tools. It's the creative application of the tools that provides the inspiration to your students. And my son has been setting so many trends with the latest technology. I'll give you some examples. He's made his first website using ChatGPT and CodePen, right? He's got his YouTube channel that posts different types of videos. In fact, if I have a second here, I can actually pull this up for you to take a look at. So there's many types of videos here that demonstrate some of the skills that he's acquired over time, whether it's building Legos, right? Reading a book using an audio device in a British accent. I thought that was pretty fun. And then playing pickleball with St. Louis Shock pickleball team. So all different types of things that you can do. The thing is when it comes to making a difference for people, first you have to be exposed to an idea, right? Second, you have to take the time to learn how to use the tools, and then give free, share some of the philosophies that I've lived by many of these years. So hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you see you on the next show. Please leave a comment. This is the first one that we've done in a while, so I just know that the ones that we do in the future are going to be a whole lot better.